welcome. This is the first meeting of this iteration of the City of Helena Planning Commission. I'm Chris Brink, Community Development Director for the city. And since we don't officially have officers elected yet, I like as the presiding official until such time. April, if you wouldn't mind, just do a quick roll call.
Absolutely. So Mike Newhouse
Here.
Ann Schwen here. Lucy Richards here.
Right. And I'm Chris Brink, again, Director of City Community Development. So first on the agenda is election of officers. If it is the pleasure of the commission, if we can maybe dispatch that until after we do a quick presentation, I think that'd be in order.
I'll make a motion for that.
Right.
Okay. Second.
There you go.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we'll move that to the second item on tonight's agenda. So first off, so again, welcome to the first meeting of our new City of Helena Planning Commission. This is born out of the requirements of Senate Bill 382, the Montana Land Use Planning Act. So we've taken the first steps towards 382 implementation, which was the creating of the Planning Commission and drafting of a public participation plan, which you have a copy of the official document that was approved by the commission. The act, and I won't really get into detail. I'm sure you all have seen the act, but I'll go through this real quick. Senate Bill 382, also known as the Montana Land Use Planning Act, requires cities that meet certain size thresholds, population, to utilize the land use plan map, zoning regulations, and subdivision regulations provided in the act, requiring public participation during the development of such, providing for consideration of factors such as how and land use plan and map that provides strategies to meet population projections, providing for consideration of factors such as housing, local facilities, economic development, natural resources, environment, and natural hazards when developing a land use plan map regulations, providing for a procedure to review subdivisions and approve final plats, and providing for a local governing body to collect fees, providing for an appeals process, enforcement mechanisms and penalties, and providing definitions and repeating other sections of Montana Code Annotated, and providing an immediate effective date, an applicability date. So the effective date was May 17th of 2023, which was the date the governor signed it, which became effective that date. And we have 3 years from that date to fully implement Senate Bill 382.
When was the what's the most recent growth policy?
Growth policy was adopted in 2020, 2019, 2020.
Okay.
So we were on target before Senate Bill 382 came out to do our growth policy update. And we'll talk about here shortly where we are on that process. But we're going to consider it a conversion to a land use plan from the growth policy. So some update and a conversion towards full requirements of Senate Bill 382. So as you see, there's 10 cities that fall within that threshold exceeding 5,000 that are in a county with population exceeding 70. And then you see Helena, in addition to our other 9 sister cities that are required to implement 382. So in a nutshell, Senate Bill 382 will front load and is designated front load public engagement, starting with the land use plan, subdivision and zoning regulations, and review of those documents with subdivision compliance or reviews done more at an administrative level. And as we move through this process, land use plan, reviewing our subdivision regs, and then through the administrative review of subdivisions, the public engagement becomes more narrow as you move through that process. So there are 5 primary components of the Land Use Planning Act. one being a public participation plan, and we'll speak about that here shortly. Plan Commission, which are you all sitting here in this room, and then the crafting of the land use plan, future land use map. We're going to touch on those three this evening, and we'll move later on as we progress through implementation. We'll move to zoning regulation and standards review and updates, as well as updates to the subdivision regulations. So MLUPA, as what we call it in the office, has 5 parts relative to public participation. And that's the document you have that we've adopted. So it requires that we provide continuous public engagement through our processes. We must document and retain all public outreach performed as part of our administrative record. Requirement to provide public notice. Requirement to emphasize, and again, this goes back to that funnel approach towards public engagement. That the planning process provides for continuous and extensive public participation, and that the opportunity for public involvement is limited after the adoption of the land use plan. And then it requires the city to adopt a public participation plan, which we did November of last year.
Chris, do you mind would you prefer that we wait until you're finished at the end to ask any questions?
No,
Or- I
that's
mean, because I feel like we're sort of in this, it feels fairly informal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we think about that public participation plan and the number of people that we have this evening who are here for the inaugural
Right.
commission hearing, what kind of outreach have we done? What has the city done? Have we done any sort of sort of proactive outreach to let people know that we're initiating this process?
So yes and no, sorta, and maybe not so sorta. So we've provided some social media context to moving through the Land Use Planning Act process through implementation. We advertise that we have created a public participation plan and a planning commission. And that sets the framework to our big rollout to full implementation. And that's our work towards the land use plan itself. So that's going to be the big push to really set the stage to what we're going to be doing, really starting this month for the next 18 months. So we didn't do a big public rollout relative to we're starting implementation of Senate Bill 382, but we're definitely going to do that land use plan forward.
Speaking to this meeting in particular, all meetings, when I send out any email, there's also an email sent out to a media contact list. So the media is aware as well.
Right, the media is aware. I just was wondering, I mean, I just feel like, and we can get into a discussion later, but I think that the public participation piece is going to be really important. And that they feel like they are aware, and that that we have a strategy for not just sort of, having the meetings and hoping that people will show up, but actually actively trying to engage the public.
Yeah, so Ms. Schwinn, we really considered this initial, we probably should have had more fanfare as a look back.
I don't mind, I'm just saying.
But we really considered this initial meeting of the planning commission, keep it low key just to get the business at hand and get it started.
Yeah.
Give you guys some background on what you can expect moving forward and that sort of thing. But once and I'll talk about where we are in the land use plan process. We're getting ready to do a big push in probably the next several weeks.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
Lucy Richards for the record. Oh, are we that formal? I'm sorry. I'm used to that. Anyway, no, I agree with that. And I think kind of the soft rollout to get acquainted, that's not a bad way to start out, but definitely more fanfare and rollout as we proceed.
It's anticipated and budgeted. So these are some of the thresholds relative to public participation as it's outlined, not only in the PPP public participation plan, but the various sections of the Land Use Planning Act. I won't go through all these, but initially these are the what we would anticipate both in the act and in the plan being the key points where public can participate in our process. And that's when we're adopting, amending, modifying, or rejecting the land use plan or future land use map. And as we get towards the administrative process, some of our land use ask, like a zone change or an annexation, may trigger an update or amendment to the land use plan. So that would trigger a new public participation process as if it were a new plan. The public will have an opportunity at least every 5 years to review the land use plan and future land use map. So there's opportunity for public participation, the full breadth of public participation, not the narrow focus as we move through the administrative process. And then when we adopt with revisions or reject zoning regulations or the zoning map, there'll be opportunities for public participation. One, when we review the current zoning regs and consider adoptions to the ordinance itself, as well as when we do map changes or rezones, which is actually an amendment to the zoning ordinance. So that would trigger a new public participation process. And then when we amend or adopt subdivision regulations. Key elements that are in our current public participation plan. So just general information tools is traditional legal notice, neighborhood notification, public notice, signs. We have a new inventory of public notice signs that we've recreated or created that will be part of our public engagement and public notification process. City of Helena website, Be Heard Helena will be a key tool that we would use to engage the public as we move forward with our land use plan process. Social media, and then news, media, and advisory. Engagement tools, the Be Heard Helena app, workshops, charrettes, storefront pop-ups in studios, open houses, and presence at public events, more geared towards the land use plan process, but definitely components of all these tools relative to amending the zoning map and our zoning and subdivision regulations. So here we are with you, the Planning Commission. So the act has provisions for the establishment of a planning commission. This planning commission, when it's fully implemented by 2026, will be a consolidation of all of our land use boards and commissions. So this planning commission will function as traditional planning board, the zoning commission, and will function as a board of adjustments. So it's all inclusive. So those boards will cease to exist, and those roles and responsibilities will be rolled into the planning commission. Responsibilities for recommendations of all legislative land use and planning decisions, being the land use plan and map, the zoning regulations, subdivision regulations, and then any other land use planning document designated by the Plan Commission. This will be the key focus for the next 3 years, will be those four, at least the three, unless there's other items given to you by the City Commission. And then once we're fully implemented with 382, you'll hear appeals from the planning officer relative to any administrative decisions, primarily subdivision reviews. Currently, subdivision requests, preliminary plats, certain final plats go to the Consolidated City County Planning Board. That will be no longer. All preliminary plats and those actions will be at a staff level. You will hear appeals from the planning officer's decision, and then an ask to appeal your decision. If you happen to appeal a planning officer's decision, would be then moved to the City Commission. So why a planning commission? Well, it's required. We're told we have to have a planning commission. We could have used the current Consolidated City County Planning Board, which we can share. However, Lewis and Clark County, they're not required to comply. They've elected not to at this point to comply with the Land Use Planning Act, thereby remaining under the requirements of the current Montana Subdivision and Planning Act. And I just put in brackets there, the growth policy. So for the current subdivision plating act, it's called a growth policy with varying or different elements that have to be reviewed. Under the Montana Land Use Planning Act, it's now going to be called a land use plan. And then we considered, if we designated the Consolidated Planning Board as the city's planning commission, essentially that board, being volunteers, would have to manage and operate under two very separate and distinct land use and planning acts. We did not think that was fair or perhaps wise, that we have one board operating under two sets of requirements. And keep in mind, you're volunteers. You don't get paid for what you're doing for the city.
what?
So,
Thought that was item 3 on the agenda.
sorry, Ian, I tried to put that in the budget, but I got next.
That might be a conflict of interest.
I have a question. And is there a particular reason you went with 3 members for the commission?
So initially we went with 3 because we thought through this whole wading through the waters and navigating 3 to 2, we thought a membership of 3 would be more nimble, easier to navigate you guys through the Land Use Planning Act. A lot easier to perhaps get the planning commission together if we needed special meetings. A lot less to wrangle than 5 members or 7. But once we go to full implementation, we will move to 5 to 7 members. So this is just for the next 2.5 years. Once we create the planning commission by ordinance and actually codify it, we'll go to 5 or 7 total members.
Lean and mean.
Lean and mean, that was the goal. Now, at any time, we can go back and retool the resolution. It's just a resolution at the moment. Planning Commission was just created by resolution. The state statute 302 allows us to do it by resolution or ordinance. But if at any time we need to go back and retool the resolution, we thought it was easy by going that route. And then lean and mean, easy to navigate this whole unknown that we're going through. Like I mentioned, the Planning Act allows the creation of the Planning Commission by ordinance or resolution. We chose resolution path. However, it's ordinance resolution. It almost set forth requirements for appointments, terms, qualifications, removal, vacancies, meetings, notice of meetings, officers, reimbursement of cost, bylaws, and then other requirements determined necessary by the local government. Local governing body would be in the city commission. And then our draft bylaws, which you have in front of you, we've given those in a packet for consideration, not tonight, but to take home. And it will be an agenda item probably at our next meeting, so we can actually get formal bylaws on the books. The bylaws, for the most part, mirror the resolution, but they also go above and beyond, and they adhere to policies that the city commission has drafted relative to all their advisory boards and commissions. Just a standard template, but it still complies with state statute and what we have in the resolution and the bylaws. So, as I mentioned, all of our existing boards and commissions will remain intact currently. So you're not folded into one now because we still need all those other boards and commissions to do their work that they're charged with doing. Until we're fully compliant and have implemented the Land Use Planning Act, we're still under the current Subdivision Planning Act. So we still need those boards and commissions to function as they currently do. And another caveat, the City County Consolidated Board, Planning Board, is a designated authority for our new MPO. So not to muddy the waters through our MPO implementation and designation, that was another reason why we decided to just create a new planning commission. It made that whole process a lot easier as we're navigating that separate process as well. And as I mentioned, just prior to full implementation, The plan commission will be recreated by ordinance. We'll codify that. We'll put it in there in the city code. And it will be consolidation of somewhat traditional city county planning board functions, the zoning commission and board of adjustments. It will just be one board now. And you'll hear appeals, as I mentioned, of land use actions and decisions that staff make. And we're recommending at that time move to 5 to 7 members. And once we create that plan commission by ordinance and codify it, we'll dissolve the consolidated city county planning board, and it just be a Lewis and Clark County Planning Board. So the big topic that we're going to be working towards in the next 18 months is the land use plan and future land use map. So the city has finally contracted with Halcyon Levine for planning services relative to drafting a new land use plan for the city. So, and that will initially be your primary focus, being the plan commission. We've already officially kicked off this process we just had discussions with buttoning up scope of work, contract language, contract is signed. We had initial staff meeting last week, kind of set the stage, maybe it was the week before. It was the week before, kind of setting the stage what the rollout will be, the big public participation piece, public engagement piece, and what that's going to look like. We're working currently towards actually branding our process. So it will actually have a brand. It will have an official title. It will have a tagline. We thought because it's a new land use planning act, we wanted this to really stand out. So we've actually included in the scope of services in the contract branding for our plan as well, which we've not really done as a city, brand any of our plans and processes. And we anticipate this process from start to finish, start being April, trying to think when we actually sign the contract. I think it was the 1st of March, about an 18-month process. So look towards July of August of 2025 for our land use plan process to wrap up with adoption by the city commission.
You're not, the initial community kickoff, May 28th and 30th, is that?
I glossed right over that, didn't I?
Yeah, is that this May?
Mhm.
Isn't that Memorial Day weekend?
It is Memorial Day weekend, so that was the earliest we could get it started. Other dates that were available for both staff and the team pushed it to the end of June. We felt that really in the summer, no date is really 100% good for everybody. So we picked that week of May for several reasons. One, it was the soonest that we could actually get something started. And two, it just coincides with city commission admin meeting, which the consultant really wanted to be here to really kick off with them too. Yeah, we kind of took the approach that really for the summer, no real week is really good for anybody
Unless it's raining.
unless it's raining. So we felt it was better to start sooner, knowing that we had a two and a half year window to get this finished. To still, after the land use plan, we still have to review the subdivision and zoning regs and get it adopted. It's really tight. We don't really think 3 years was enough anyway in the code or the state statute that was passed. But the sooner the better. We didn't want to drag this out any longer.
No, I mean, that does make sense. And what is the kickoff exactly?
So
What does it entail?
we don't really know yet. We've not really gotten that far in the discussions. I suspect we'll probably start having those with the consultant next week. They will be in town. They'll be here for the full 3 days. It will involve meetings with planning commission. You will partner with the HCC as well. They will be part of the steering committee for the land use plan. We've asked the HCC to anticipate at least one member for each district being on that steering committee. So at the end of the day, it would be a steering committee of 10. It'd be 7 members from the HCC. And then 3 members of the planning commission will form the actual steering committee. So they'll meet with the steering committee, they'll meet with city leaders, they'll meet with the public. I'm not really sure what the full breadth of that public rollout will be, but it will be intensive and it will be robust. And it will be 3 days worth of a lot of stuff, as well as the consultant needing to really spend time in the city in their first, I'll say their first visit. I'm sure some of them have been here. One actually lives in town and is from Helena. Just get them immersed into the city.
What was the name of the firm again?
Halcyon Levine.
The headquarters are in Chicago, right?
They're out of Chicago. They have offices, I want to say Seattle, Tacoma-ish. And then they have our actual project manager actually lives in Helena. That will be working with us directly.
So we won't be flying to Seattle, is what you're saying, but.
So that date, the May 28th to the 30th may change. We're gonna button that up pretty quick. We felt comfortable with that date, with that week.
That is the Tuesday after.
Mhm.
It is. But then again, is any date in the summer really good, knowing Montana weather, everybody's gone? And then our winter date's really appropriate because it's the winter, so, you know. And as I mentioned, our land use plan, we will no longer call it a growth policy, or won't be a growth policy under the current subdivision and plating act. And it's going to look at some real key elements that are not really new to the planning processes, but perhaps more detailed than what is currently in the current state statute. So housing, we're going to be required to look at 20-year projections, and then the number of housing units that are needed for that to meet that projection, and then local services and facilities that to meet that housing need, public safety, emergency services, water, wastewater, solid waste, transportation, school systems. There'll be a lot of collaboration with the school system. Economic development, which we don't really touch on our current growth policy. Somewhat we do, but not as in depth as we anticipate in the land use plan. And then the traditional natural resources, environment hazards that are currently in the growth policy under the elements. And then we'll actually have a formalized future land use map, which we will identify preferred and anticipated development, again, to meet that projected population demand, identify areas for future annexation, identify areas to accommodate the projected housing unit demand and need. And then lastly, the land use plan will include an implementation plan, which will have a somewhat detailed analysis of the current regulations and act inconsistencies, steps for compliance for Senate Bill 382. CIP, which is Community Improvement Plan Adoption, and Implementation Plan. We currently do some CIP planning now, but we will roll that into the land use plan formula. Schedule for adopting plan for service extensions to serve the population need and services. And then procedures for monitoring and evaluating progress of all of our goals and objectives. See how we're actually doing, how well we're meeting some targets relative to whatever goals and objectives we've set in the plan. And as I've mentioned several times, we must be in full compliance with Senate Bill 382 as it stands now by May 17th, 2026. Which in the state statute says we must be in compliance 3 years from the effective date of the act, or if the growth policy was adopted in the 5 years previous, then 5 years from adoption, whichever is later. Well, for us, 3 years from May 17th, 2023 is the latest date. So full compliance by May 2026.
Didn't you say that the growth policy was adopted in 2020?
1920.
It's the 2019
It's the
growth
2019
policy.
growth policy. I think formal adoption was 1st of 2020.
So it seems like, I mean, if you were the letter of the law, you actually we could do 5 years. Not that I support that. I like that you're shooting for 3, but
Right. Well, I mean, well, full compliance from, May, whatever the date, 1940, it'd be 2025. But the later of the two is 2026. We're in a better position by 3 years from the date of 382 adoption. So that was really quick. And I'm sure you as members of the Planning Commission have a lot of questions. And I really blocked a lot of the importance of what you will be doing moving forward. And I did not go really full in depth with our scope of services that we've signed with the consultant. We'll make sure that you, as members of the Planning Commission, get a copy of the contract, get a copy of the scope, start participating in a lot of the pre-meetings that we will be having moving forward, or at least opportunities to attend. They're during the day with staff, of course, at this point. They will have designated meetings with you and the stakeholder team as a whole. But I hate to say it, but the Planning Commission and the HCC will be the face of our planning process. You know your community. Staff does too, but it's really not a place to really be out there and be the face of the plan. We want it to be publicly driven. You as appointed members, you're representing this, the constituents, representing the city commission as Planning Commission members, as well as HCC too. So we think by incorporating Planning Commission, HCC, we'll really be able to touch the public more than what we have been able to in the past is our goal. Our consultant, Halcyon Levine, has some really unique tools that they're going to be rolling out for public participation. And I don't want to steal their thunder. So I didn't really get to how we're going to meet the letter of the public participation plan. I want the consultant to be able to tell you what their plan is. And you'll see it in the scope. That's pretty robust. It's pretty unique. We're excited about it. They got some really unique tools that I believe the citizens of the city are going to be really receptive to and excited to participate in.
It's not really relevant because each city doing this has their own plans and their own stuff, but are other cities taking a similar approach, or is ours kind of unique?
So we're all unique in that we're in different stages of where we are in our planning program. Whitefish, Columbia Falls, well, more so Whitefish, Missoula, Bozeman, they were at a stage to where they will probably be fully implemented with Senate Bill 382 probably by the end of this year, if not maybe the middle of next year. They're just at a different planning stage. They're able to use a lot of the, when I say they're at a different planning stage, they have just made revisions or rewrites or even implemented new growth policies. So it's easier for them to implement and just make minor tweaks and modifications to not only that, and then their zoning and their subdivision regs. We are, because we had just hit a 5-year threshold to start looking at a growth policy update. We're kind of not behind the curve, but we're right in target to meet the implementation deadline. Billings is the only other city that is in a similar position that we are. We're probably lockstep with where both of us are in the process. Belgrade might be the other, but we're all at different stages. And when I mentioned the 3 years towards implementation, that's tight. It's really tight from some of those cities that haven't even really started looking at 382 implementation yet.
And I mean, I could see that. I mean, my career is based around this type of long-term planning to implement things of this nature. So it doable but tight seems a reasonable assessment based on the statute and where you've stated our current growth plan is. So
right, we fully understand the urgency from the state and the legislature when they adopted 382. We get it. We know the urgency, and we're doing our level best to meet that intent to get this done and completed fully within their set timeline. It's just really tight, but I think we're in a good position, and we got a good consultant that knows how tight of a window we have. They've got a pretty aggressive schedule that you'll see in the scope. It's going to be a busy year and a half. That is for sure.
From what I'm hearing, that probably means more than once a month meetings.
So yes, so we anticipate, and again, that's the reason for the 3. It's really easier to convene
On the fly.
on the fly. At least 3 members of the Plan Commission, you're statutorily targeted or relegated to doing the work of crafting a land use plan, right? I mean, that is your mission as laid out in the resolution and state statute. So if we need to move with urgency, it's easier with 3. With whole stakeholder group, it's going to become more problematic. So as a stakeholder group, it may not meet that as often as every month, but you as a plan commission, you definitely will probably meet several times a month, probably. But there will be a standard, a set meeting, and we can maybe move. We'll go ahead and talk about it now since it's formal, informal. The bylaws, you'll notice in the bylaws, I have highlighted with the standard or the set monthly meeting. We picked the first Thursday of every month. The it's highlighted. It was highlighted for you to pay particular attention to it because we're not set on the first Thursday of every month, but it's fit with all the other meetings that we have to attend as staff relative to the zoning commission, board of adjustments, consolidated claims board, city commission, and all the other meetings that we have to attend. Thursdays were wide open for us from staff standpoint. And the first Thursday we just kind of fit. We kind of pulled it out of thin air, but we just picked one of the Thursdays. It was either the first or the last, but we're not really set on which Thursday that we're kind of set on the Thursday because it unfortunately we just couldn't meet any other day.
We currently have 3 Tuesday evenings every month where we have meetings. So Tuesday would be out. Mondays usually never good for anyone. Wednesdays questionable. So no one wants to meet on Friday. So Thursday.
Some of my boards like meeting on Fridays, but.
Home with those people.
Right, I definitely understand that your schedules need to make this work too. So really, I'm fine with the first Thursday, but I could work with any Thursday if that was better for you guys.
But we don't have to talk about it tonight. Just tonight, just take it back. Look over the draft bylaws. It'll be on the agenda for next month. And again, we'll meet the first Thursday next month as well.
We'll be in a different room.
We'll be in a
next
different
week.
room.
Yeah, we'll be upstairs in 426 next month. This room was already booked, but I've got us booked in 326 for the first Thursday. There on out, if we keep to the first Thursday.
So the next agenda will have the bylaws. And then hopefully we may be able to wrangle at least Halcyon Levine to give a brief presentation about their firm and do a brief overview of their scope. But definitely they will have real in-depth meetings with you and the rest of the stakeholders when they come to town at the end of May. So.
Are they generalist project managers or do they specialize in this type of city planning type things?
So they are well known for their comprehensive plan work across the country. They're probably, just from a peer standpoint, one of the most recognized firms that do this work. We, as a professional, we should be lucky to have them on our team. I think they're really, really good. anytime you get the principal of the firm that actually does initial interviews and are part of the initial meetings with staff to kind of set the stage. And he's really involved in the whole process. That just shows we made a good selection. They're a big firm. Really big firms. We're excited. We couldn't be more excited of being able to work with that team. And you know, not to divulge names, but we were fortunate that Cody Ferguson used to be with Commerce. Is actually on House of Levine's team. That is our local project manager. We're fortunate that we got a direct line to the project manager. So
I feel compelled to say something because when I applied for this position, I was in a different job. I have Cody's old job.
Right.
Now, and I am working with Commerce, and so I don't anticipate that I'll have any problems with conflict of interest. Because we don't have, there isn't funding related,
right.
but I do want to put that out there that it's something that I am paying very close attention to, and
Right.
I'm here as a citizen, not as a member of, as someone who is with the Department of Commerce. But I am the supervisor for our planning program that is responsible for helping all of the communities across the state implement 382. And when I applied for this, I thought, oh, it would be really good to get this experience. And then subsequently I got the job that I have now. I've only been there a couple of months.
Right.
So, but I am debating, I'm sitting here hearing this and I'm thinking, is it going to be appropriate? Is it going to be good for me to be on the commission or not? Or will it cause any challenges with, conflict of interest sounds harsh because I don't really anticipate conflict of interest, but where I may need to not be necessarily quite as engaged. I don't know.
You know, we didn't look at it in depth, but like you said, there's no funding mechanism. There's no oversight on Commerce.
Right.
There's assistance that Commerce provides to other jurisdictions that are going through this whole process.
Right.
So maybe it's not a conflict, but perhaps a benefit that maybe we can.
I feel like it's going to be a benefit. I feel like it's going to be a benefit for me to be going through it so that I have a better understanding of helping the other communities.
Mhm.
But I don't want to do that at the expense of this position and the responsibilities for being here. So
And we'll make sure we'll touch base with
Danae.
we'll touch base with the city attorney and just let her put her eyes on it.
Okay.
Just give her, but I don't foresee where there is a conflict. I don't recognize a conflict at this point.
I don't know. I don't either. Listening to this, I think
And typically when we have a board member who has a conflict, they simply, if it's direct conflict, they simply recuse themselves from any action. Otherwise you make a statement. I have this position, I have this connection to this, and just make it aware and we move on.
But make an impartial decision.
Yes, right, yes.
But we don't have, Commerce does not have oversight over this. We just provide technical
That's right.
assistance when it's available and we don't have funding.
That's
involved.
that should be
And we
fine.
didn't do anything, any other jurisdiction. We're still gonna rely on Commerce for the tools that you're providing all the jurisdictions. And
I'm hoping it's going to actually help make those a little more robust or have a better understanding of what those needs really might be. So the other thing I would say is that I'm excited to hear you say that you want us to be meeting with House of Levine and that we have the HCC engaged, because I feel like I don't want you to just use this. I'm hoping that your intent was not to use the commission just as kind of a quick sounding board, or that you were gonna be doing the planning somewhere else and then bringing it to us for approval, but rather that your expectation is that we are engaged in the development and what that looks like.
So.
And it sounds like that's what you
In
were
my
saying.
professional history, I drive planning commissions to do the work. That is what you are statutorily charged to do. You are more than a sounding board. You're the citizen planner. That is what you're appointed for. And we're gonna make sure that you're used for that purpose. So, but there's a unique opportunity with utilizing the HCC, and I've reached out to Benji or Ben. And they're excited. We're gonna meet with them to kind of lay out some groundwork or guidelines to start getting them looking at who to appoint. One from each district is our vision.
Are all the districts fully appointed?
I think all the districts have representation, but I don't think all the seats within all the districts are full.
That,
So there's no district that's not represented. And we're using not only HCC, but members of the planning commission to. So I don't want to steal Howard Levine's thunder, but they have a public engagement toolkit or do-it-yourself kit, so to speak, that they provide a packet to the steering committee, and then you go out, you host your own community meetings, you have some guidelines about what to discuss, how to discuss it, some key topics to bring up, that you have your own community meetings within the neighborhoods and with their constituents, and you'll piggyback and collaborate with them as they navigate that. So we're excited, and it's really their charge, right? The city charter, it speaks to they participate in the development of the city. Well, here's our opportunities. So not just, budget recommendations, but here they actually are going to have a big piece in development in the future of the city. So
Each district has at least two
at least
representatives.
okay.
perfect. So members of the commission, that is all I have from a presentation standpoint.
Election of officers is the only thing.
The election of officers is the only piece. So if you'll allow me, I will open, so we'll move towards election of officers. I will open for nominations of chair, and once that chair has been either elected, nominated and or elected, then I'll open it up or turn it over to the chair. So without further ado, is there a nomination for chair of the new City Helena Planning Commission?
It's only slightly awkward. What I would go ahead and say is, because I just said that there is the outside chance that I may have a potential conflict of interest, I don't think that it's a good idea for me to assume the chair position. So I
Well-
don't look at either of you.
And this is also awkward in a different way, but I am interested in being the chair. But I have no desire to fight anyone to the death for
I
the
don't,
chairwomanship.
You know what?
I don't have any issue with that, honestly. I just thought that maybe we should briefly introduce ourselves to each other.
That is an excellent idea.
I was thinking.
Talk about our backgrounds and
Absolutely.
what made us decide to apply to be on this board.
I digress. We probably should have done that
At the very
initial-
beginning.
Initial order of business, but
No,
I
that's
apologize.
quite all right.
How about if you go
Well,
ahead and start?
Okay, I'm a professional land surveyor, been licensed for 4.5, 5 years now, been in the business for 30 years. I'm intimately familiar with the Montana Land Use and Planning Act. And just wanted to help use that expertise to help guide the portion of preliminary plats, final plats.
And-
Through,
I would add that Mike has also served on the Board of Adjustment
I was trying to, was
previously
it,
for the city of
I was an
Helena,
alternate for what, 1.5 years, and then
and then a regular
a
member.
regular member for almost a year, is that right?
I think close to it, at least 6 months, yeah.
I was trying to
So-
remember exactly.
So Mike has served on city boards before as well.
So I'm familiar with the variance portion of things too. And I just wanted to be involved and felt that this was the best place for me to use my expertise
Awesome.
in land use and help serve my city.
Perfect.
So
So, I ended up in Helena. I went to Carroll and I was gonna be a doctor and then I got into government and that's what I've spent my entire professional career doing, as one often does in these situations. No, so I've always been interested, in government. I believe that's where you get work done on the ground up at this kind of level, state or local. So I started out at DNRC and I was still leaning toward the biology aspect then, but basically I got into government administration and legislative work. So to really shorthand my career, that is my specialty. Project, government administration, legislative and administrative rulemaking at the state level. And so I did stuff related to that at DNRC. I worked with the state land board in that particular job and oversaw the legal unit. So in that time, I developed a broad layperson surface level knowledge of a lot of things related to land and land use planning and development. And I'm interested in the outdoors. So I have that background, certainly not your level, Mike, of expertise or anything like that, but I know how this type of thing operates at state and local levels. And so then at this point in my life, I'm at Labor and Industry, still doing the same type of thing, which is government administration and operations, but I do it with professional licensing boards instead. And so my day job is, well, kind of yours, Director Brink. I organize and do things on the back end and help boards run meetings and implement the laws that they have the authority to implement. So
Nice.
so yes, my hobbies and jobs are the same thing. Back to, I am a sad person.
I wouldn't say that.
I wouldn't either.
I wouldn't say that at all.
Well, that's because we're on Zoom and possibly people are listening. People.
So I'm actually, my background is fundamentally a scientist was how I was trained. But land resources and environmental sciences. But I have been doing community planning for probably 30 years and primarily watershed planning. And then I was at DNRC as a regional water planner for the state. So helping communities figure out, and by community, I mean large geographic areas, figure out how to do water management and think about a future where maybe water was going to be a challenge. I served on the Madison County Planning Board for 10 years, was chair for a couple of years in the really high growth times, which was, and Madison County encompasses Big Sky, Moonlight Basin, Yellowstone Club, Madison Valley, Virginia City, and the Ruby Valley, just to create a diversity of issues that you may see with trying to administer the Subdivision and Planning Act. And then I moved to Helena, and I actually was on our city of the Lewis and Clark County and City of Helena Consolidated Planning Board for 3 years. And just a couple of years ago, I left DNRC and I took the position as the Sustainable Communities Policy Director for Montana Environmental Information Center, and spent the last legislative session lobbying on behalf of sustainable land use planning and water and affordable housing, and really got into that affordable housing nexus. I applied while I was still at MEIC for this position because, as I said, I thought it would be a great opportunity to really figure out how we could implement this bill that I supported initially. And then when the counties pulled out, I had trouble supporting it because I really wanted counties to be doing this same kind of process. But at any rate, and now I have the position at the Department of Commerce being the supervisor for the community planning program, where we're helping communities across the state do land use and comprehensive community planning. So, and really happy to be in a support commission member position.
I wish you didn't say officer.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'm not opposed to it and I would be happy. I'm very comfortable with running meetings and being a chair, but I really think if there's someone else. So with that, I might actually make a motion that we elect Lucy Richards as our chair of our,
I'll second that motion.
there we go. That's easy.
It is easy.
But I'm excited. I'm just gonna say, well, I'll wait till we finish through. the motion.
So I'm assuming since we have a motion to appoint Ms. Richards as chair and second by Mike, that we can move towards just acclamation that Ms. Richards is now the chair of the new City of Helena Planning Commission.
I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It would be ironic if I pulled out now, but
Congratulations.
Well, Madam Chair, I'll turn the virtual gavel over to you so you can handle the nominations for vice chair, and that will wrap up the officer nominations. As you've noticed in the resolution of the bylaws, the staff liaison or whoever director appoints will serve as your secretary. So that would just be automatic. So the last officer is vice chair.
all right, members of the commission, is there a nomination for vice chair?
I would nominate Mr. Newhouse for the position of vice chair.
I would second that.
I'll gladly accept.
Perfect.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Congratulations,
Nice.
Mr. Mike Newhouse. Like I said, I do this a lot.
Right. Very good. I'm excited about the diversity of experiences and skill sets that we have. I think it's really good.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, the next item on the agenda is public comments, but I'm not sure if we have any members of the public present.
The only member of the public is city staff, Ms. Ray.
I guess I should ask, does city staff could technically public comment?
Well, I think she was listening in while at her daughter's swim lesson tonight, so
Yeah, I don't believe she's still on.
she's on,
Oh,
but
is she?
yeah, she logged off and then logged back on, so. If Ellie has anything to say, she can raise her hand.
No.
I'm not seeing anything, we can move on.
Correct. So meetings of interest announcements has just been normal. You'll see this on all of agendas. We don't have any announcements from staff. You'll note the next meeting that we've got scheduled is May 2nd. And we will make sure that we have we'll try to coordinate with House of Levine to do just an introductory quick meeting between them and members of the planning commission. If not, probably the only item I'll foresee on that agenda will be review the bylaws and adoption.
And I usually send out materials 10 calendar days before a meeting.
These aren't any different than the ones that are online at all.
No, okay.
Well, I guess we don't have it on the agenda. I was gonna say. I have already reviewed the ones that were online.
I did too,
I did too.
but we shouldn't vote on it if it's not on the agenda,
That's
so.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. And that was probably an oversight on my part. We probably should have put that on the agenda. I know.
Anything else?
That'd definitely be on next meeting, so.
So it sounds like the next meeting would be that, perhaps a presentation by our contractor and other specific things you know of yet?
No, so staff will probably not be the driver of the topics on your agendas for the foreseeable future. The team at House of Levine will probably drive what your agendas will look like. So with staff coordination with them, we'll kind of dictate what your agendas are going to look like.
And the chair.
Mhm.
And the chair.
And and if there's anything you want me to put on the agenda,
Absolutely.
just send it to me.
Yep.
I would like to exchange email addresses if we could.
Certainly.
Just be sure you don't constitute a quorum.
Which technically two of us would.
Yes, it would.
I don't want to,
3-member board
never mind.
sufficient.
I'll scratch that request.
Yes, it just as standard practice, we try not to constitute a quorum in any kind of email communication or outside meetings, anything like that.
Fair enough.
It is tricky with 3 people.
It is. Blame Chris for that.
But no, the reasoning behind why you sort of spin up with members also makes a certain amount of sense. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, we can adjourn.
That's it. We don't have anything.
All right. Thank you for your time.